Hello everyone. Hello Sputniki. Welcome. Yeah, my other Facebook page is not going along. Hi Anja, welcome here on this English live stream. Welcome everyone. So I'm now also putting on Trovo. Oh, wait. Okay, on Trovo, saved successfully. I'm live on Trovo. Hello everyone on Tremble. Hi everyone. Hello everyone. Well, on Facebook, it's again that only my personal page is live. So for everyone, yeah, it is the way it is. Sometimes it happens, and it happens a lot lately, but on my second YouTube, I am live. So hello, welcome everyone in this English live stream. Welcome. I already said hello to Sputniki and Anja Vrome. Welcome. As well on Rumble and on Trovo. Hi, dear people. I will be talking again about my former Deep State MKultra live. Welcome. It's 7:30, maybe for abroad not the best time, but I will go live soon, even around 3 o'clock in the morning soon. So for here then Amsterdam time, and I am not on my best yet in the after midnight here in the Netherlands. So I will get used to that. And yeah, Facebook is not coming along with the going live on my other pages, so that's a pity. But yeah, I am live, I think, on my Monique Wallace 2 channel, and that's my second channel. For the one who still don't know, I want to go to 2 separate channels, or at least that for the English speaking people, a preference for English, that they know this is a channel which is only English. And I'm still not sure what is the best. Some say you can keep it mixed. It's no big deal. It's better. So I don't know. So I have to figure it out. But I think I'm live too. Yeah, on Monique Wallace too. Okay, well that's great. Hello everyone, also there on my English channel who's watching. And of course Rumble and Trovo. Rumble also as well, I guess. Let me see. Let me go to Rumble. I have so many channels at the same time, but when it runs, then it just runs. So it's these first few minutes that I have to check if I am really there live. So, hey Delvertje, welcome. Yeah, I'm live there too. So, hello, dear people on Rumble. Okay, so what am I going to talk about? Well, there is a lot happening since as many of you know, that I freed my core and so on, and a lot more happened that since now maybe a week, since last Thursday especially, that I'm now opening up my military section, which is my military part, which is I believe the 85% of which I still have to free and had to free, and I'm still not sure if I have the whole military section now to the surface, but I do hope so. Well, that caused a lot of inner turbulence, and that's where I start with. Delvetje, you look a bit tired. Oh, yeah, it's okay. It's not that bad, but maybe it's the lighting too. Because I every time I try new lighting. Oh, that's too light. Wait. Oh, what did I do now? And it is also the inner process, of course. It's just you see me in the midst of. In the midst of deprogramming, and I feel that. So, but I'm luckily not tired, but I understand, and I might look tired, and that is because I don't sleep that much lately. So then I think that's also on my my face expresses very well how I feel. So I know that. So, and I can look very pale as well. But that inner process is at the moment pretty intense, and I'm not saying that it's tough, but it's different than all the other transformation periods I had. Because for tonight I will, by the way, be talking about the several methods of how the programmers it's actually the tortures, what they used, and traumas on me from my own experience, how I got programmed, and for several reasons and for several layers. And I decided to go more in that tonight, but it's no coincidence, of course, that I now dug up that military part. And that military part was protected by two little child personalities, and I discovered that was after last Saturday's night live stream in the morning, and on Sunday when I had a long walk with my dear friend here, and then I found out that there were two small little children personalities who were on a I wanted to look it up, and I forgot. It is a whip in English. Oh man, I know it will come back, but I'm getting innerly disturbed by these inner two child alters. So seesaw. Now I know the seesaw, and then you literally have to vision yourself as that two little children and they are at the most 6 years old, 5, 6 years old, and I see them then with my inner eye on a seesaw, and they were up, down in a rhythm, and this is actually a good way to connect it later on with the programming techniques, because I find out that for a long time, since I do live streams, that every subject I touch upon talking about, if it is the English or the Dutch live stream, doesn't matter, or if I go live, it is all intertwined with me, with my deprogramming, and that's the beautiful thing. But what I'm also talking about tonight is also raw and, again, spontaneous, because it's part of my process, what I also want to show, the way I am. Just, it is who I am in reality. So, and I like spontaneity, so that works better for me than preparing. Well, I do prepare a lot, but that's a whole other story. Oh gosh. I talk myself into a kind of maze because I do prepare a lot, but not in the way like I make a whole list about this is what I'm going to talk about, and a whole list of keywords and so on. And that doesn't work with me, I found out. So that's what I mean. But I prepare a lot, like the lighting and the decor, the background, the flowers. It looks nice. Hi, Yvonne, welcome as well. Um, yeah, so this military part, since that came forward, well, these two on the seesaw saw what did they trigger? They triggered in me a huge, for me, an awareness, and again dealing with eating disorders. And these two on the seesaw, they represent, the one represented like overeating, and the other one on the seesaw represented not eating at all, so the anorexia part. So last few days, and that's maybe also the tiredness, maybe you see on my face, that is that I don't sleep very well, but I have such an intensity in trying to deal with all the what I recognize as eating disorders, but I cannot allow that any longer, because I talked also in the live stream specifically about my eating disorders, and that eating disorders, if they start as a tiny little monstrous voice, and you feed that monstrous voice, well, that's interesting. Time for a necessary break, says Kapperman. Well, that's interesting. I'm talking about food for thought, synchronicity. But that if that is getting too much space, even a little, then that monster of eating disorders is grabbing everything. Well, I believe the ones who went through that know that, how it is dangerous if you let an eating disorder monster free, run free in your personality or in your system and so on. Well, now I'm not fighting, because that is the whole journey, the healing journey of me of all these years in the deprogramming, that I a lot of times fought against this, fighting against these eating disorders. So fighting against overeating, fighting against not eating at all, fighting against finding stuff to release myself quicker from if I would have eaten, and so on. Well, I worked so hard in that, and I get now rewarded, because I, with that military part who has recently come to the surface, well, together with her, that's the way I deprogram. So this military part is now guiding me together. So we're a team now, because she's aware of the here and now. And she is now together with me guiding these two on the seesaw. And these two little personality parts in me of 5-6 years old, they appear to be the source, always have been the source of, wanting to get me back in the eating disorders, because I did feel that, and I'm doing very well. I eat very well. There's nothing wrong with my, fortunately, I'm doing really well. But the inner fight against that little monster I talked about, that is hard inner work. And that is why it's so great that I have here this harmony in this residence and so on. But qua eating, I am doing pretty well. So, and I can at times really enjoy of food. But since that military part has come to the surface, I'm fighting hard to really once and for all get this eating disorder programming in me out of my system. And I have to work so hard for that. So I was very mixed in going live tonight, because whole day I have like a too fast heartbeat. I'm restless, and all the time these two little ones on the seesaw I am guiding into here and now, and that they don't need to protect that military part any longer. But man, oh man, it is so so hard work. And today was one of the days that I again thought like, oh, I don't want to be a former MKultra. I just want to live. I want to enjoy life. I want to get out and just take part of life, you know? And But yeah, I have to deal with that with my inner systems. Yeah, so that is. But the good news is again that military part is now with me and is aware of me, and she is now supporting me in my life. So she gets to know everything about who I am, and that goes very quickly, by the way. The way I transform personalities can in the hundreds a day. In the first deprogramming years from 2010, I dug up sometimes 300 personalities all at once. And then I guided them in one day to the here and now. Other personalities, the deeper I got, and especially the baby and the little toddler personalities, they are extremely hard to convince that it is a free world now innerly for me. And can you imagine that when it's now already 4 years ago that this whole COVID thing happened in the world, how that was fearful to my inner personalities who were still integrating. That was so incredible tough. And I hope, by the way, that for everyone on Facebook, that you also get a message that I'm on my personal page only live. I don't understand it, so I have to accept that Facebook did not again catch on with my other pages like the Dutch page and the English page, and Tivop and Indivini, and it is the way it is. Let me say hello to others who joined. Hello, Into Alice van Kleef. Good evening. And Yvonne, I think I already greeted. Okay, so that is the introduction about the deprogramming. And this military part, who is 85% of the 100% which I had to retrieve again. I'm very curious how far and what I all will start to remember. And if I am not allowed to remember everything in case of secret files, etc., and so on, then I can accept it as well, because I worked on that as well last few years especially. Yeah, and this military part, by the way, when she came forward in that incredible long walk Sunday, then she talked about it and that she was known as organizer. So she's an organizer. Well, if you know the military world, it's all about discipline and organizing. So she will be a great help for me in, for example, sorting out my socks. I'm sure I'm not the only one who is chaotic with socks or loose socks, or the colors don't match. I'm not that I'm wearing not matching colors, but I mean, I really don't like doing the laundry with so many socks. And I talked a lot of live streams about that. Doing the laundry is at times for me triggering, and I accepted that is just a part of maybe the life also in the future. But if that's the only thing what is still maybe triggering me, well, then I'm very lucky. I am very blessed to be deprogrammed for so deep, and for so that I'm whole for so that I'm whole. So, and welcome, by the way, everyone. Also, who joined me on Trovo and Rumble. Yeah, Rumble. It is so great that on Rumble, apparently a lot of subscribers join me, and on YouTube as well. And I have my second YouTube channel also running now. So for everyone who only prefers only live streams, English, an only English channel, then you can go there, and that's Monique Wallace 2 with TOO. And I found that very easy to remember. So that is why I thought, well, it's funny, Monique Wallace 2, because it is also me, and it is my second channel. So, and for the time being, I will upload and go live on my first channel as well, on Monique Wallace. So I will do it in a transition wave, and that's the best thing, I believe. And then I can a bit look at how it will evolve and how it will grow, all these channels. And on Twitch, it is just, I like to talk about it because on Twitch I'm heading for the 250 followers. And I'm so grateful, and thank you all. And then I always do that once in a live stream. I hope only once in a live stream, but it is to get more seen in the whole, especially also the YouTube forest and Twitch forest with all these creators. And MKultra is not an easy subject, not for me, apparently. So please subscribe, follow, like, share would be so appreciated. And if my channels grow, I do want to give something back or do something special when I feel like this is a nice total number of all the followers and subscribers, that I will do something special. But I'm not sure exactly what, but I'm having some ideas. Delvertje, you could buy 10 pairs of socks that are the same. Yeah. Yes, well, I'm someone who then wears socks and then until they get holes. So I don't buy that easy new stuff. So, but if it's needed, then it will be arranged. So that doesn't matter. But yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. But then that they're all the same. But I can make a whole story about that. I will not do that because then we're talking about socks this evening. And I still recall that a few live streams ago that it was all about licorice. It was already the second half of the live stream. And I watched a bit back, a few pieces in the live stream of that live, and I had to laugh again of the licorice dropjes. So, oh boy. But so this military part calls herself organizer, and that will maybe also support in that the socks will not any longer be chaotic all through I don't know why I think that in durcheinander, that's what I then hear in German. That's also funny. Suddenly I hear the German language. That happens to me lately as well, that I start to hear German words again. So that's I am on top of it innerly, what it is. Delvertje, or the soup live stream. Yeah, we had that too once. Yeah, that's already a while back. Gee. Yeah, the soup live stream, indeed. And pea soup, I remember. Yeah. Let me see if I have Trovo. Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone on Trovo as well. In Rumble, if you like saying something in the chat, you're welcome, of course. And if there will be an active chat on Rumble, then I will add it also to the on-screen chat. So that's a small invitation to chat something. But there are 3 watching now. Yeah, well, abroad it is early, and I talked about it earlier. I forgot to mention that how I enjoyed the midnight live streaming. And enjoying is not the right word, but really it is amazing that I can then reach also my friends, of course, who watch and can then watch live my live stream from the USA. Yeah, that is so great. But I watched my last English live stream. I looked back a few video parts, and then I saw how tired I was. So I will go live soon again after midnight, and then I want to go live around 2 or 2:30 in the early morning. Yes, you hear me well, 2:30 in the morning. I will announce that, or maybe go spontaneous live, but let's see how that will work out. Well, I will grab my tea before I forget. Oh man. And I will keep you all posted, of course, also with the conquering these two little personalities, because with the eating disorders, man, I'm then so fortunate and grateful that I already talked openly about it, that I had to deal with it my whole life, and especially in the heaviest deprogramming years, from I think from in between 2011 to 2016, 17, it was so tough with the eating disorders, and it was also related to that I was fearful of getting something with my heart. And what I now recently feel, or today, like with these quick heartbeats, too fast heartbeats, I know it is a part of a reliving. So I'm not worried at all, but it is. I forgot to mention that with these two little personalities now integrating from that seesaw, they're hard to grab from that seesaw and to get them in my core, where is the light and the connection to God and the Creator. And that's a pity yeah, that they have a hard time to go along, but they will go, because the love is ruling, and the love will always conquer and help them transform. Sputniki, your biorhythm gets mixed up. Yeah, that's good described. Yeah, exactly. And as well, it is since Sunday especially, and that was a long time ago, that it was when I eat, then it feels like it's still not digested, and I know it is. So it feels all the time fulfilled in my stomach area, literally here in my stomach area. And yeah, it is. It's beautifully said. Yeah, biorhythm gets mixed up, and yeah, it's an awful feeling. I would never. Yeah, it's not a great feeling, but yeah, it's compared to when you have overeaten. I never liked that, by the way, being overeaten, but that's a bit the same feeling. So was that the majority? Yeah, and oh, okay. So these two young personalities, they are now heading for, yeah, more becoming here and now, but they still did not show their basic trauma. So it is possible that that quick heartbeat, what I feel is, it's like I have liters of caffeine. That's how it feels, and I take every day the same amount. So that cannot be it. And I even took a bit less, because I felt already after the first cup of coffee this morning that too fast heartbeat. So there is something in reliving, and that yeah, my biorhythm is nicely said again. Hello, Tineke Jessie, that is confused and now trying to get to here in the here and now. And yeah, I also, and then I will continue to the types of programming I had to endure. But that's part of this, the organizer, the military organizer in me has come forward, that I changed totally 180 degrees my eating habits. So different food, no longer bread. And I avoid everything with, is that gluten or koolhydraten? I forgot the name for koolhydraten. I always know them, but so yeah, let's see. But I will keep you posted, of course, and updated. And you always see me in the live stream twice a week. So uh, I will take a sip of my tea, otherwise I forget again to take a sip. Let me check here. Yeah, the types of programming, and in all these live streams I talked about it, but I really felt like now I am up to try to get detailed how it works. And for me it's the challenge, by the way, to not be too graphic, but a graphic warning for, I already mentioned it in the title and in my description, but a graphic warning, because I cannot avoid that it will have more graphic content, and I try to describe it as integer as possible, but then still it can be triggering. So be careful if you watch. And also, dear people who are rewatching this, be careful if you're prone to vulnerability with mental health issues, especially PTSS and SRA, and have traumas related past and so on, and difficulty being in the here and now, or watch with a loved one. Yeah. So that's being said. Okay, I still did not take my tea. Carbohydrates. Oh, thanks so much, Yvonne. It's so great that you will, yeah, you and others look up definitions and so on. That's so nice. Sputniki, you have a delicate nerve system. Yeah, I have. Yeah, I do. Yeah, it is. And meanwhile, I am also healing, because my healing, what I do for healing for others and so on, that's also, again, growing, and that's so great. But in the meanwhile, I'm doing this tough section in myself to pull that in the here and now. So that is not easy, but I will do my best. So, the programming. Well, the types of programming. There is a huge difference in how the programmers programmed me, and I talked, let me start with the core programming, which I did talk already a lot about, but not so extendedly in that first of all, there is a difference if you're full mind controlled, or if, for example, boys and girls are being taken to being processed for certain ways of means. I hope I can pronounce why, but they often are also programmed for specific reasons, and that is why there are several types of programming. There are also programming from also boys and girls who are being programmed, for example, to contribute to be only for the sexual activities. And as little as possible they need to have the programming. But the full mind control program as I had was from that it is well known by now, and also I talked a lot about Frits Springmeier, who is one of my heroes, who I believe already in the end of 80s and early 90s wrote a really thick, large book, and you can find it as a PDF file on the internet. And there you see actually my story. A lot of it, what has written in that book, is me, how I was programmed. And it is the most terrific things. Even best friends here in the Netherlands, as far as in the beginning I shared about some details I had to endure in the programming and the traumas, they never could manage to read that book because it was so tough, so incredible tough. Thank you so much, Thea, for the tip. I will put off the notifications because the pling, then you hear the pling all the time. Thanks so much. My eye catches your notification. So sweet of you. Thank you. So the programming and this full mind control programming, the programmers look up with blueprints. I call them a lot blueprints. Because there are, as you know, I talk about it a lot, like bloodlines, and for me, everyone is important if they're unique and beautiful and trying to spread love. And for me, there is no difference in if someone is a bloodline or not. But yeah, they call them bloodlines. And then they try to look up where they can let a baby being born with their purposes. So before I even was born, my programmers did take care of where do we want to let her being born, what are her capacities, and for example, the programmed world and the monarchies, they all use astrology. They all have a certain magicians who can tell their future. It's like literally like these people have their own Merlins, Merlin's the wizard, the wise man who is giving them advice on which road to take. So there is a lot in that in clairvoyancy that they put around them to find out where is this being born, like I was, for example. And that's then the spiritual part. So they also look at the being who is about to be born. So they can look at certain timelines. And that's all before I was born. And I am not the only one. I know that a lot of these full mind controls are being picked out on forehand, because they even could become a threat with a T, if they would have been born and would be doing something in the positive. That can be all kinds of things, but these beings are being chosen to specifically let them being born in bloodline families, or in families who will help the programming keeping up, like I was, and specifically in the hopes that these mind-controlled ones, these chosen ones, as the programmers always, they name them always the chosen one. Well, you're the chosen one. Well, there are a lot of chosen ones, so I can see through that. It's just to give the mind-controlled one a good feeling, like she is or he is the only one, the chosen one. You see that a lot in movies as well, the chosen one. Or you're the one who becomes the hero or the heroine. And that's I don't say that is wrong if it's a good example, but the real heroes, I believe, are the people who do good. And they can be everything. They can in all levels of society. So, but that's my opinion. Then to come back to how they pick these beings to be born, like I was born, they chose to let me grow up as front life with that specific Dutch family. And before they choose the being to be born, because they can steer a bit in timelines, but it has to be just a minuscule, tiny bit of that they can and are allowed to change the timeline, because the God and the Creator will then come in between, because it's impossible to change an abrupt timeline. It's just like a tiny splinter of the timeline, what they are capable of changing, and then they also choose when and where they will change the timeline, because it's extremely dangerous to change a timeline. And it is, by the way, also not the case that, for example, in a timeline, history has been changed by wiping out one key figure. That's too simple. It is a lot being expressed in movies, but what I experienced in the time travels and so on, and in contact with AI and also intelligence outside Earth, it's not so simple. So it's not like that is not like so simple as in the movie. Well, this programming, then when they find out, okay, this and this time we will let her being born. So then we're talking about me. For me, it was important that I had the Mars influence, and I talk a lot about me being also Mars related. I know more about why, but I will not go into that because I'm too afraid that I will not being believed and I have no proof. So this is why I was born in also the month of March. And the 17th as my birth date, that's also no coincidence. So the 17th of March and then my birth year, that was all being guided by this, let's say, this Merlin of these 4 basic programmers. As you will, the most of you know, I had 3 male programmers and 1 female programmer. And they all decided, okay, that's the best point, together with this wise counselor who is a black magician. everyone in the elite club, and specifically the 300 plus, I talked about in other live streams that I knew them as 300 plus, that they all had their wise men and their guidance and their guides in working with astrology. And then they had the astrology with that few percentage of the real astrology. So that is also being totally controlled, like the astrology which is in the world to grasp is, I don't say that it's not accurate, but it's not full 100% accurate, in my opinion. Everything is my own opinion and own experience. So you can judge for yourself if it's science fiction or a beautiful story or the truth. It's for me. For me, it's everything okay, but I share just what I experience and what my opinion is. So then they decided, okay, well, we let her being born there and so on. At times when, for example, a full mind control like me is being born in this case in the Netherlands, that's no coincidence either. I had to be born within a certain distance from Great Britain, and that was because of Queen E, and as well as something which has got to do with Dutch, certain elite people who wear certain hats. I have to be careful in that. They were heavily involved as well, and there was a woman who extremely was involved also in furthering and deepening my programming in the Netherlands. That's why I am describing it very carefully, and also her son. So I was deeply involved in that, and it was no coincidence, because I was later on in the Black Ops involved in having witnessed the plans for humanity, but for Europe, for the future. And fortunately, I did not see yet what I saw in the plans that has been now actually happening. So I'm very happy with that, because that's a sign for me that the good will conquer, and that they are at least being withhold from having done that in 2022, because I saw in the plans of 2022 that there would be called out a martial law, and that would be the stepping stone to getting a martial law worldwide. And that was what I saw in the secret plans. Well, fortunately, I am wrong. I can also see it like that, but what I do know is I did see it. So for me, that's a fact. So then I was born in the Dutch family. So it was extremely important for me that I would be born in the Netherlands with... because in their astrology and their science and their psychic science, it's like literally like also with astrology, that you sketch a symbol and all these figures, and you calculate exactly with the stars and with the planets and so on, and the constellation, the time you were born and so on. And that creates then a blueprint. And this blueprint, I have seen my own blueprint, and two are straight on top of each other. So my, even in the Netherlands, a dear friend of mine at that time, years ago, before I even knew I was MKultra, she said, like, I never saw such complicated astrology drawing. She could sketch out with all these diagrams, and well, I'm not an astrologist, so I don't know all these terms, but I apparently had the most complex astrology oversight ever. And now I understand why. And it's a pity that I threw all these things away. I know a lot of things are gone forever, and I have to accept that, like pictures and so on. Sometimes lately I really long for seeing again my pictures in the front life, because I had pictures of which you, for example, could see how I could really act like a boy. And that was the time that the programmers thought that they could create also strong personality alters as a boy. Tineke Jessie, the most people don't see the evil plan and the elites. I saw today a man who he didn't see the plans. Well, that is why I think it's growing, and that's why we keep on telling our stories, and not only me, but you all in your own way, and or radiating it, and then it will be revealed. I'm sure of that. That the light, put a light on everyone who's in doubt or in disbelief. That's how I do it already for years. I send love and light and positive vibes. So, so then to come back to that programming, that basic programming. So the Dr. Green was the one who they chose to do the programming in me, the full mind programming in me specifically by Dr. Green. And Dr. Green has a certain own system and grid. I know that from, I seem to have read that somewhere from a Dr. Greenbaum. Yeah, there's the there's the word green as well. But he gave a lecture, and I once put it in the website link in the chat. But I have to look it up. Maybe I will show it again. But he talked about it as well, and that this Dr. Green, he had these 13 columns, and I talked about it already earlier, and it's about the techniques, what they used. But he made the basic design. The White Rabbit programmer was very close to changing and adding things in the design. Maybe I will do a live stream in which I only will show drawings, but that will probably be the past midnight live stream, and then via Rumble and Trovo, because those are the most free platforms for now, I guess. Maybe Odyssey as well, if that goes with it. And then I will show very extendedly all kinds of systems in me. But I did already show a couple of drawings in all the live streams I did, especially in 2022, I believe, or 2023 as well. So, where did I? Oh yeah, and then we have this female programmer, Queen E. She specifically wanted the programming and the tortures being done with the mother-daughter relationship and to bond with me. In every MKultra there needs to be a male who bonds and a female who bonds as a father and a mother. Well, you would think maybe Dr. Green would be that, but Dr. Green I had to call overall Uncle Joseph. And I had another programmer who was already at a high age, and he was the man with the little black moustache, and I had to call him Fatih. And he was the one who actually needed to bond with me in the father-daughter relationship, and the Queen E as the mother-daughter. The other two programmers, I only recall them as vicious and extreme evil, and I really have to be careful in not mentioning his name. So natural it is for me to call his name, and I am having this military part in me who's coming to the surface, so I have to be careful. So that's why I first think and then speak out that this Dr. Green, for example, he at a lot of times I saw his eyes getting these vertical slit, and it was and at times I even saw that when he winked with his eyes, that it was a very big eyelid, like reptiles can have, that you see them like very almost like in slow motion. They can do their eyelids. And with humanity, it is that you wink very quickly. You don't even notice it. And there are people, by the way, who wink less or more often, and it is interesting to observe. Now I talk about winking. Now I have to really even more put it aside that I see a tiny screen with myself to check if my webcam is working and so on. But now I have to be careful not to be focused on if I wink, how many times I wink. Oh, sometimes I say things and I make it for myself even harder. It's not needed, but yeah. Delvertje, my mother's surname is Wink, really. Well, Wink, yeah, Wink, Wink. It's a one-eyed wink, and you have the wink, wink, eh? Not, or so. Or how do you call it? The wink, wink. Yeah. Pachinko, hello. Pachinko, welcome in the chat. Are you sending me code in Wink now? Yeah, maybe I'm programming or reprogramming or triggering. No, I'm not. I hope not. Oh, I hope not. No, I'm too far deprogrammed to, I think, to trigger someone. But yeah, the heavy stuff will come later on in a bit. So how the programming was done, and all kinds of programming, and even I will highlight more the AI. And I saw from a close also how what they call the super soldiers, how they were being trained, and that was in the 80s. So, and we're now in 2020. Ooh, I got the hiccups again. Oh, that happens every live stream. Oh, man. Probably from Germany. Place called Winkhausen. So, this is the word of today, of this evening, for this live stream. Wink. Wink, wink. Wink. Now, I'm sure that everyone who watches this now, or maybe we watch it now, is more focused on, did I wink? Or did I now wink faster or more in between? It's funny how that works. It's the same with if I say yawn, start to yawn, of gapen in Dutch, then everyone starts to yawn. That's so interesting. Sputniki, winky, winky. Oh my God, what did I start? Oh boy. And I now feel that I want to yawn. So I worked myself pretty well in a corner. Not literally, of course. I'm sitting in a corner, but I didn't throw myself literally in a corner. But it's an expression for the ones who did not know that yet. But yeah, I notice I also try to make it a bit lighter, but the programming is, of course, serious subject. To come back to this father-daughter relationship, that was very important. So that with the, what I recall is with Queen E, that I was bonded with one of my baby parts, and I was put in a yellow blanket. And then I was put against her breast, and then she was cradling me, and that was the bonding. And with bonding mother-child relationship, the mother programmer, like Queen E was, she has to hold me in her arms as soon as possible after the birth, after the physical birth. So, to be clear, as far as I know, I did not came straight from her own womb, but a surrogate mother. And this mother died while giving birth to me, and it was in a horrific way. And we lived that actually not so many years ago. That was one of the most deepest layers in me who were hidden around the core splits. And I can imagine that this kind of trauma, which I will not mention because that was too horrific, and I relived that. And by the way, yes, you can relive your birth as baby. It is possible. And it might also with me more that I was capable of reliving this rebirth this birth of my in the physical in this life, because I had, of course, a very I was chosen to be born, and I had that heavy full mind control. So my brain is not like the so-called common or the normal people. And normal, I hate that word, but I just don't know the other word, or the people in general. And I said it often, but I once want to find out in an examination, or to look at my own brains, how they look like. But that counts for my heart as well. Is there a scarring? I don't know. My programmers told me, and I will go into that also this live stream, how they programmed me and how they scarred my heart, because that was part of my also creating my basic split personalities. They always told me that I had a scarring, and that it was a part of the heart which was had scarring and was not alive any longer. But I mean, I function very well. I'm healthy, so healthier than ever. So is it true? I don't know. They showed me, and in a lot of the flashbacks and relivings, I did see that with my inner eye, and they were talking about it, but they as well called my heart miracle heart, because I survived so many heart infarcts and sudden death, so that I stopped breathing and so on. Even in satanic rituals, a couple of them, I just dropped after the ritual, and then they had to put me back to life with defibrillators. And defibrillators, that word, I stumble always over that word, but it is part of also this basic programming. My basic programming was with the elements water, fire, earth specifically, and air. And with air was, of course, suffocating. With the earth was specifically burying me alive. I talked about it last live streams. But it goes further, this programming, because I like to go back to when I was born. It's like, then I was taken into the arms of this Queen E with the yellow blanket. And this light yellow blanket would be then, for times after that, also be reused to get me in the mode of, I am now attached to the mom. And to her breast. So I had to stay and had to keep that feeling of safety, like a safe harbor with her, and that I would feel safe only with this Queen E. With what they always as well told me, that she is my real genetic mom. Is that true? Again, I say it again. I know I repeat it a lot in every live streams, but I do that as well to take care for myself. Like I don't know for sure, because I don't have proof. I can feel things, and I can know that things are true, but there's no proof. So what can I say? But this bonding was very, very important. But straight after I was put in the arms of the mom, then there was another, which was a very high, which I did not talk about her a lot, but she was connected to, and once a wife of a president. She became later on, but she was already a very powerful witch before she became that, together with also another former president. They were a lot of times present, even in the background, when I had my basic programming and the tortures and traumas done to me to create my personality splits, because that is the most important thing for the basic programmers. As little as possible, as young as I was, and even as baby, that, for example, it was important to put me in an aquarium with water, and then in tubes and monitors, and that I had to have the feeling at times of that I would choke or drown, and also that I would have an awful experience as a reminder of the womb. And I talked about that when the birth mom, the surrogate mom, birthed me from her womb, as I said, then at the same time when she did the last contraction and when I was out, by the way, a significant detail, I was born with what they call helmet on. In Dutch, they call it born with the helmet on. But so I translate it literally, born with the fleece. Yeah. I went straight down, so the head first, and then with the yeah. I'm lost. I lost the English word for that. That seems to be very significant as well. That there is a saying that people born like that are clairvoyant. But I don't know if you know that expression. It's maybe already old-fashioned of mine, but that was in the front life. Also, for me, always being told like you were born like this and this, and in my memory, I was like that born. And then at the same time, I was feeling the trauma, the dying upper body of the surrogate mom. And I cannot express that is already the basic programming. Actually, my core, my being and my soul was already jumping out of the body, because with trauma, then the being or the core jumps out of the body, and it's like literally with a sudden shock in the body and a trauma. It can be a very small trauma, but then already a being can for a few seconds can jump out of the body and then get inside the body again. And that is also literally called a shock. Often after accidents, that people are in a shock, don't remember anything, or get the tremblers, how do you say, the cold, chilling, that they are trembling all over and getting cold. And that's what they also call the shock for the body. Well, energetically, the being has then been pulled out, jumped out literally from the body and back again in the body. So that was already the traumatic programming, first programming actually, when I was born. And then I was brought into the Queen E's arms. I have to be so careful never to mention the names of these people. So then to come back to that other young witch which was present, that she was asked to take over me as a baby. And she brought me then to... and this is a graphic warning, that she was going to that she walked away and that she attempted to choke me with her hands. And that was, already the beginning of that needed to be, that's that needs to be every time repeated. So this was not one time repeated, but every time when Queen E had me on her peaceful arms and I had the feeling, I'm so beloved against her chest. And then I was brought to that other young, which was still at a young age then, that witch which would then try to choke me. So I would get then confused, but already created there some also a split up personality, specifically the girl who was attached to the mom. But you can imagine if after a trauma like that when I was brought back to this Queen E, that I would feel like in heaven, because I came from a trauma as what I experienced, and then there was someone who would save me. So this Queen E took the role of, come on, little baby. And then she took me in her hands and then she cradled me again. So I created already in a very very tiny little baby and later on older bit a toddler, that I was totally like, she will save me every time when I got tortured and traumatized. And that kept on being repeated even until I was a teenager. So that same method that she, in that personality which was created, and it was also created a personality like that to always stand up for this, in this case, this Queen E. So it is a tactic that there would always be a personality being created who would stand up, even defend Queen E. So if I would be earlier in my programming, without being deprogrammed enough, for example, then I would be close to Queen E, and for example, Queen E would have been attacked, then I would surface in a personality who would even sacrifice my life for this Queen E. At the same time, from deep within, I kept being that screaming baby who oversaw everything, that being who knew this woman is not to be trusted. But yeah, it is so deep within, like the kernel of an onion, that is incredible, hard to explain how from within. I literally, I feel that now also in my throat. In the flashbacks, for example, in all these deprogramming years, I had times that I woke up in the night and wanted to scream and no voice came out. And that was all a reminder of that I screamed from within. When I started to learn to scream, when I met this dear friend of mine and I came in her alternative therapy in the beginning of my healing process. Hello, Jos Schovo, welcome. Always great to have you here as well. Welcome. And so that in her alternative practice, which I chose because she had a therapy which was attracting me, because I wanted to stay as far as possible from physicians and specialists. I was always afraid of physicians. For example, I am now in my deprogramming process with these two little personalities on the seesaw, and I have to make an appointment for my dentist, which it's a woman and she's great for me, but I don't dare to. So that influences my life still, the being former MKultra. What did I say? So the bonding is extremely important. And this is also done with the dad. The dad, for example, which I had to call Fatih, that was that man with the little black moustache. And with him, I had the hardest time next to my Dutch front mom. Those two were, if I look back, those two were really the hardest for me to detach from and to see through. But they love me. Oh no, they did these awful things. So my knowing in all the deprogramming knew that they were evil, really evil. And the man with the black little moustache, he was also more and more mentally disturbed. And he was, I believe, also created as a mental health issue person later on when he got in his old age. Because he got syringes and he got, how you say that, opium. He was addicted to opium. So, I know I saw him getting worse and worse with his mental health. And but there is still a part in me who saw his soft side. And I still recall that, for example, although this man with the black little moustache, for example, wanted to throw me off in Argentina from a bridge with a what they call now bungee jump cord. That evil things he did too. So I talk now about him in the programming. He took care of me that I was traumatized as well, which I did not share yet. I had to watch with him on a projector screen, and colorized movies existed already far longer than was being put out in the world. So I saw in graphic colored pictures and movies on a projector screen with him next to me, and I was forced to watch what has been done in World War II. And I still get very, I'm not easy getting angry, but there are still people who think that Second World War II and the horrors there did not happen. I know they did happen next to time travel. Well, I've seen it, the horrors of what they did there in World War II. And I will never forget how horrifying it was to, for example, watch next to this man with a black little moustache. I was forced to watch on the couch next to him. And at times it was so harsh that, for example, I talked openly about that my urine was flowing just because of the traumas done to me, and even in the Dutch life, that I didn't have control over my bladder and other parts. I will not mention that because I feel a bit, it needs to be told, those are these people and they still exist, these programmers. I see them still being world leaders, and I keep on saying that until it has been changed, that we say no, and that it is, that we choose for other transparent leaders, world leaders. But that's another thing. To come back to this man with a black moustache, besides the bonding with him that I was, but let's go back to his programming ways. He was specialized in, for example, what I shared once, that I was pulled from a bridge in Argentina, close to where he was in that bunker. And that I was shocked because if I would not jump, then he would throw other children from the bridge next to me, which he did. Together with Dr. Green, he was there as well. So this is trigger warning. This is a heavy evening, I think. But I try to talk about it as integer as possible. And he had his tricks that, for example, when I was even with him in that bunker villa inside that mountain, that he made me tricks. So even if he would then, for example, pull me or pushed me in my back with his hands, then I would already have the feeling that I would drop from a bridge. Another torture, and trauma to program me and to divide this, that I ever knew him and that he was my Fati, as he said. That he always said that I was his daughter. And it's their words. Now I have said it out loud. There are first English live streams of mine when I was doing my first actually live streaming with no one else but me in the chat. And that that he was, that they told me I said it. Maybe I say already too much, but I'm not sure if it's true. Again, I have no proof. I'm not sure. I do notice some features which I recognize. Fortunately, I don't have his evil side, but and then it's still, there's no proof. Maybe they just told me. I don't know. But that I was brought to a ravine, and that was as well in Argentina, a dark, deep ravine, and there happened the same things. And then I was already a toddler. So I was just a toddler. And then you have to think of that I was 2, 3, 4 years old. So I had a lot of, was witness to watch, and specifically with this programmer with the little black moustache, little children, toddlers being pushed from ravines and high altitudes. And it always ended up with that if I would not choose to jump, then these children would be dropped. And so, what did I choose? Finally, I chose to jump because I could not witness these children being fallen to their deaths. And there is also a ravine in a desert in northeast, southwest, the west side of the USA, close to Los Angeles, where is a hidden cliff. And it was also connected to Bohemian Grove underneath caves, a cave system. And there was ritualistic also being, and I was used for that as well, because I was so hardened in watching that people were dropped from high altitudes. And then next to sitting, that was what I wanted to come back to, so that I was sitting next to this man with a little black moustache at the couch watching these awful colored movies of the Second World War, the most horrific things of the war. And he was sitting there proud, and he smiled in at me, and he at times gave me a popsicle. I hope I say it right, and it was always a red one, and I loved the strawberry taste of it as well. A popsicle, I hope I pronounce it well. And that's, by the way, an extreme programming tool for programming. And the color red, you see, I've seen advertisements, for example, not even that long ago, that children, girls overall, were wearing high-heeled red shoes and licking their popsicle. And so if you see that combination, it could be an alert, an alarm sign that someone is behind it to produce these pictures for the hidden deep state, shadow world, and trafficking, and so on. When I was sitting next to the couch, if I would then, for example, my bladder would not cope with it because I had to sit with him for hours. If I would not wet myself, then I would get a popsicle as treat. But if that would happen, another time was that, for example, the man with the little black moustache, I wanted to talk about another programming thing, which all the programmers had in common. So the female one and the 3 male ones, that they all did potty training. Well, potty training is a heavy programmed thing for MKultras, and I hope I don't trigger anyone. But potty training was as well when I was sitting next to the couch of this man with a little black moustache. If I was a nice, good girl, if I was a good girl for him, and I would not wet myself and would have sat next to the couch even so long that my bladder would almost, explode. It felt like that. And then I would be rewarded with a popsicle, and then I also got even the treat of sitting on a potty, and that was his special reward for me. So if I was present with the man with the black moustache, I was never, ever allowed to even ask to go for a pee or wet myself. That is a heavy trauma with him I had to deal with. Another thing what he used for programming is next to these altitudes, being thrown off altitudes and so on. Another thing, a heavy trauma for me was, you see, my mind is now trying to not mention that, so I lost my train of thoughts. I lost it. So that happens as well. That for apparently my something in me doesn't want me to mention it. But I've seen he had really tough ideas as well in traumatizing me. He was obsessed with war things, and he had in his villa bunker in Argentina, he had a room filled. He had also, by the way, trains, toy trains. You have that. These are pretty expensive. It's a pretty expensive hobby to have specific train wagons, and then you can have build a whole mountains, a city. So he had a whole railway and with a bridge. And what you see in the Addams Family is literally what he also liked, that then train wagons would bump into each other, that he would love that. Why do I say that? He was obsessed with war and UFOs as well, with finding out about aliens and AI technology, of which I will later on try to explain a bit, because I think now the first developments also of programming of the super soldiers. I myself was also part of it, and I had to endure these experiments as well, and had to undergo being connected to AI. So that I will talk about later on, but it's a pity that I forgot that other thing, what this man with a little black moustache liked. Well, to come back to the war, it sounds so bizarre, but I was literally seeing... No, I don't think I will talk about it now. It's too heavy. It's too graphic. Yvonne, almost time for a break. Oh, you're a good reminder. What's the time? Yeah, let's do a break. Yeah, well, let me finish about the man. Thank you so much, Yvonne. You're a timekeeper. Your aura is still growing, and so is your spirit, Monique. They will continue with their hassle, but it won't help them anymore. The resistance is getting bigger. Yeah, as well of the people, and I'm getting really helped with not only protection, but yeah, spiritual. And before I went live, I saw such a beautiful comment on YouTube, and I have tears in my eyes of the comments and private messages I get. So that is so motivating to continue. And I don't talk about it a lot. Last couple of live streams I did, but last night were again between 2 and 3 o'clock military helicopters above our house. Doesn't mean anything, but I just was awake and I did notice it. So it happens a lot lately, but there is a lot military activity also. So maybe it's just coincidence, but I live in an area of which is not specific a military area, not even close by. So it's weird, you know. It's weird. It's bizarre, but I feel protected. So with let's leave that man with a little black moustache and then continue. So we take a break. I take a break. Maybe you as well. I should not say we, because I am me. I will take a break for some tea and put on some lights. Let's take a break, approximately 8 to 10 minutes past 9, and then I will continue. And again, greetings to everyone on Rumble and Trovo. Don't hesitate to write something. Hello, privacy please on Rumble. Welcome in the chat. I hope more people will join the chat. It's of course not the best time. It's a bit early for a lot in the world of a certain time zone. Welcome. And okay. Welcome, new follower also on Trovo. No, that's so great. Okay, do I see how many are watching? Can I see that? For watching. Well, welcome everyone on Trovo as well. So, the break. I will do the break. Streamer. Thank you so much, Delvature, for the beautiful hearts and the pachinko as well. And everyone for being here. And I will continue in a few minutes. Approximately in 8 minutes, I will continue. I'm now searching for that short break. Of course, I have it here. Yeah. Ta-da-da-da, ta-da. And I'm so happy that I managed to deal with the flickering light. Okay, short break, a little music. And then I will head for my tea. Oops. Oof. All right, I will put on some lights. I'll be back. Oh gosh. Is it too much? Oh, it's too much. Oh gosh. Dankjewel, Spoednikkie. Pachinko toast with, I think, a beer. Cheers, everyone. It's a bit too light again, still. Oops. Zo. All right. After this song, I will continue. So, I added Rumble to it. The chat on Rumble. Let's see. Delvertje, no singing song. No, indeed. Yeah, I have a lot of titles from Facebook, copyright-free music, but yeah, I sometimes forget if they had melody or not, or I mean singing voices, vocals. But I like this one as well. This is one of my favorites. So yeah, Jos, I saw your comment. Yeah, I must say I also heard about that in certain Oekra. And yeah, I myself feel no from in my stomach feeling no, my belly feeling no panic. So and I follow my belly feeling. So a lot is being done to scare off indeed. So yeah, so the program as well, I still did not remember what I wanted to say about the man with the little black moustache. So then I will leave that. Oh, now I remember that another favorite thing of him, and that was connected to also later on Vienna, which was an important city as well, connected in my programming, Austria, but that he, and as well that was together again with Dr. Green, but that he liked to roll me in a carpet. And I was already used to that as little as I was. And then I had to be rolmops. I don't know how they call that no, that is apfelstrudel. Like I had to be traumatized with apfelstrudel. So there you have again the programming technique of connecting it to food. And no wonder that I created also in my front life and specifically in the deprogramming when I met all these layers that I created eating disorders. That's, by the way, overall a very dangerous programming what is being put in many MKultras and a lot in monarchs as well. The connection with food and food disorders is extremely large with monarchs because a lot of these monarch programs also act in the model world, they act in the movie world, television series, television shows. Well, so many of them are being forced to only eat a few calories, and in my case I approximately only was allowed 230 calories, maybe a bit 250, and it was then a sandwich, cheese, and water or a tea, but that was a bit what I was, and an apple. I had days that I lived on an apple in the programming, and even when I was on Black Ops. So there is a possibility, by the way, by the body, to really live on so little qua food. So, but Jos, I see a lot of positives coming to you, Monique. Nah, I feel that. Yeah, well, I work hard for it. I worked hard for it. I can say that full of proud. I mean, it's not to I will always work hard, but I'm sure that I'm in I call it my harvesting phase. But yeah, it's a lot of years, of course, in isolation, voluntarily isolation, and day and night going through layers and programming. I did not live a real life. So even people who know me from via this dear friend, they have sometimes, I think, and that saddens me, the wrong picture of me. Like I live inside of a residence, a dear friend is supporting me financially, not even the whole deprogramming years, but so much. She sacrificed everything to get me whole. Yeah, but that saddens me sometimes. But it makes me very joyful that I do these live streams, and I start also to reach more from abroad, so American people and from abroad. And I still hope to do maybe soon also a German live stream to connect, and a movement to say no to evil. And it's not that I say no to certain people. No, it's no to evil. So I don't call up for anything. I only say no to evil. So if we can unite in that and then overcome our small differences, it's great that we're all different. I feel I learn still from people who are different. I learn so much from love, capital love, all sorts of love, on all sorts of levels. That alone is so beautiful. But yeah, to come back, because I don't think I can manage to talk about it all in this live stream, about every subject what I wanted to talk about, because I'm very eager to talk as well of the super soldier programming, as they call it. I don't like the word super. Well, thank you so much, Tineke Jessie. The hug is really received. And from you all, thank you so much for being here. And I see on YouTube also 9 people watching us. You're so welcome. Thank you so much. On the second YouTube channel, let me see. I don't if there are people there. I am live there. Oh. Oh, you heard an echo. And Anja and Into are there in the Dutch, or is it in my normal channel? Oh no, it's in my own channel. I have 2 channels. That's also a bit a disadvantage. Let me see if there's in the chat someone. Into is also on Monique Wallace too. One watching now. It's probably or Into, or it's me, myself. Well, okay. So, the other 2 programmers, I talked about Queen E, about the man with the little black moustache. And then I have left Dr. Green, and if I want to say more about also the others, that will also come together, because so at times they would, like also Dr. Green was with this. I so have to be careful to not mention their names. I think that has got to do with that I am with my military part who is integrating now and getting to know me in here now. So you have to really be careful not to say their names. That is this Dr. Green, for example. His traumatizing me was already enough by his presence. I still recall that he had a vicious smile, and he tried to be gentle. He had often his hand in his coat, like also Napoleon. That is a Freemason gesture, by the way. It is part of a certain elite gesture, so that they have their hands so underneath there like this. That is a giant sign also for the Freemasons to each other, symbolism. but specifically how he smelled and how he was. So he wanted to show like I am your uncle. I'm sweet to you, but he was all the time for me only vicious and extremely, yeah, evil beyond evil. His programming, and again, graphic warning now because I will now mention details which I did mention already. But for example, he took care of that I was educated, as he called it, in a certain nursery school, and this nursery school had small classrooms, and they all each had their own color to connect me to the color coding. And one of these, every classroom had a horrific trauma for me and tortures when I was little already. And can you imagine in a space? They were not that big of classrooms, by the way, nursery rooms. But then with a group of children of my age, and then you literally have to think of 2.5 years, 3 years old, when I was there put in a classroom. And for example, you had these cute little stools in all kinds of colors. The walls were painted in a bright color for that specific coding. And then at the same time there were sewing machines, and I was forced to sit behind the sewing machines and then had to sew, and here's the graphic warning, human skin. And next to that also body parts. And that specifically Dr. Green forced me to sew together the most bizarre body parts. And he was obsessed with a certain body part, which is a male body part. I will not say the word. And often, when I was in the classroom, I say literally often, especially when I was very little, again, a very tough graphic detail, that I was forced that a few of which were boys, little boys of my age, and then they had to go close to the sewing machine with their, something which male boys have, and then I had to sew. And if I did not pull that sewing machine and put the pedal of the sewing machine, then he was like that he would then draw his pistol, which he always carried, and then shot in front of my eyes another child. That did not happen just one time. That happened a lot of times. And again, I was 2.5 years to 4, 5 years. So this is why did I choose to talk about this? Because I feel this world needs saying no, that we as people, as group, start to realize that this world does happen. These horrific things still happen with traumatizing children. And why do I say that? Because I see many of the world leaders I knew as little as I was, and I was also as a monarch programming and in the military programming. I see too many world leaders, and also in levels lower than that, having taken part in that. So why are they still leading the world? They are not leading the world as accordingly as it should, but they are, And it's time we say no as people. And I thought, if I start talking about what I experienced and then try not to become too emotional. I feel physical reactions, but I know my ways of dealing with it. I meditate every day. That even intensified, and certainly before a live stream, that I am in a meditative state to be able to talk about it. And in earlier live streams, I did not mention even to talk about it, because my mind then takes care of it naturally, that I would not have remembered and would not have been capable of talking about it. But this is just one horror story, and it is true. It happens. If you are capable of reading that Fritz Springmeier PDF book, and that book, I think, he still is producing it, or how you say that, he is still, it's still available, I believe. And in that book you see pictures of children. That's another part of the programming. I talk a lot about that I had the Cinderella and the Snow White programming, of which I had the feeling to be frozen. I was already, and again trigger warning, a very little girl. I was already taught to be put in refrigerators and freezers. So I had to endure coldness and so on. And of course it would later on already be a trigger to be near refrigerators and a freezer. But I could, in a separate personality, can deal with so much higher pain level, pain threshold than any other general person. And that is the case. That is why they still, in my opinion, still create MKultras and programmed ones, because in a personality they can extend a certain quality in an MKultra or in a monarch. So if they want, for example, someone who is sexually active and want to have someone who will be sexual active from one to the other, I had that programming in me as well, to deal with man after man after man after man. Well, in a general person cannot endure sexual activity so often right after each other, and I was trained like that to be capable of as well. And that counts as well for MKultra and the black military. Like I was taught to that my hearing, for example, and my psyops and my connected with AI as well, that I was clairvoyant and that I could see, for example, without having this Röntgen devices or devices to detect a person I had to investigate or had to approach invisible, that I could see with the AI enhanced and with my psychic ability enhanced, that I could easily see and detect that person or persons. And I was used for that also to retrieve bodies, to retrieve persons who were imprisoned somewhere else. I was a lot of times in Yemen, and by the way, I never saw a people who had such radiant eyes. I'm very connected to Yemen because I feel the Essenes were there a lot, and I have a certain attachment to Essene life and Magdalene. But the most wonderful, beautiful eyes I've never seen. It felt like I could see the universe in their eyes. They're beautiful, beautiful people there, by the way. But to come back to the basic programmer because otherwise, to come back to that being put in a fridge and a freezer, that I had to have the feeling of being frozen. And this Frits Springmeier, in his book, and maybe more pictures are being released as well by now, because I know a lot of more former victims and survivors like me are standing up and talking about it, that you can see that a doll-like eyes look at you from that picture. And what I was done to as well as a tiny little child, and that was a basic programming, heavily traumatized, was that, again, trigger warning, was that my arms and legs were pulled out, and then my arms and legs were bonded in that way that it was pulled out of the joint. And that's extremely painful, but it is so painful that I left the body, and that creates a frozen look. And you see in that book of Frits Springmeier exactly how it looks like. These children, if you see their eyes, if you see them like puppets lying in boxes, often these programming, after that is being done and being bonded, then the programmers only have to use the trigger codes, and then especially children, then they become that frozen doll programming, and often they are put in boxes like you buy in toy shops with giant babies or giant toddler dolls. And it gave me always the creeps to be given in the front life, for example, giant dolls or giant bears, or a giant baby in a carton, which is a carton box, and then it had a transparent lid, and then it was beautifully dressed, and yeah, I was put myself in a box like that too, and that's the doll programming, and this doll programming is done in, I think, every MKultra, a monarch programmed one, for sure the girls. Of the boys programming, I did witness some things, but what I witnessed of boy programming was specifically that they had this male part, and that I was forced a lot with these little boys when I was very little to train as monarch and to practice with these boys. But yeah, that is for me the example of that. For me, it is a fact that these boys who survived, for example, in the classrooms of this Dr. Green, because he was just so experimenting with death and with children and babies and twins. He wanted to create the perfect twins, that they would be adjusted. He also tried, for example, twins to literally, for example, put off a leg of one twin and then switch it with the other twin. He switched mouths, he switched ears, he tried everything, and I've seen that from a close. So then you have an idea of I chose to do that now all in one live stream, and I warned enough about that it would be graphic. So I apologize for the ones who are not used of hearing me say so many graphic details, but it is to show that part of me. I already from when I was little had the feeling I am 100 plus years old, and now maybe you understand, because although in my front life I did not recall anything of my deeper programming, at 6 years old I still recall that I was in front of my sexual abusers, for example, just wanting to radiate God's light. And that I said, but you can also be the creator. You are that light. You don't have to punish all the other children around me or to sexually abuse me. So I try to spread my light and God's light, and they punished me even more. But I in the front life, when I did not remembered anything of my sexual abuse, I felt so often like I don't understand the same children of my own age, because I felt 100 plus years old. And I literally told also the Dutch mom and dad often, like, I don't feel I'm part of this life. I feel so far older. Am I not born earlier in the 1920s or something? I did say that already when I was little, when I was a year of 5, 6. Now I understand. So, and I know this live stream is packed full of horrific details, but I do hope that it will reach people who would otherwise not be capable of maybe accepting that this is the case, by doing this in a packed full of live stream of graphic details, that it will somehow enter, that it does exist, these horrific trauma and traumatic programming, and they're tortures. They're tortures, and they're being done in the underground, underneath the castles people look up to, underneath buildings in cities which have beautiful outside, and then underneath, or in the catacombs underneath, or in hidden theaters, there are performers doing their MKultra or monarch programming to dance for this so-called elite and other layers of society who sign the contract with the devil or sign the contract with the deep state. There is also a part, by the way, of this deep state that is to make a bridge towards the AI involvement and the off-planet activities. There is a major part as well of the 300 plus. Of the 300 plus, I watched 215 of them involved in wanting to know off-planet and alien, to know more about alien life, and to know more about the other areas outside of what we know as the world, because the world is bigger than is being told to us. And in the history, there are still movies, for example, of Errol Flynn. There you hear, literally say to all the corners of the world. So there is a lot more outside what we know as the world, and some countries are portrayed bigger than they really are, because who is really measuring things? The people who measure all these countries, and even I saw in the Vatican. That impressed me a lot. I know I repeat it a lot, but in the Vatican I saw so many maps of Earth. I saw, for example, a map of Earth like a pancake, and that it was a staple of pancakes, and that it was 7-layered. And it was a 7-layered pancake with air in between, and then their own environment and life. And I saw also pictures of the Earth being more like you squeeze a balloon, and that it was broader to the outside. I saw so many antique maps, also stone of which come from off-planet, who had also drawings of the Earth and total different, also more planets. And I can talk about it maybe another time, because I'm still remembering more. Now my military part is coming to the surface, but I like to touch upon what I also witnessed, and that is at the same time Dr. Green, to come back to Dr. Green and to the man with the little black moustache. And I forgot about this white rabbit basic programmer, that he was evil on its own as well with the basic programming and the horrific things he did to me. I will go back to that, because I wanted to have that as a whole, that you now have insight what all these 4 programmers on its own had their specific unique tortures to traumatize me. So all 4 of them traumatized me. I know it sounds maybe even ridiculous and too far off, but yeah. I have also witnesses, also dear friends, by the way, in the first years of my deprogramming, that they witnessed me in relivings, and that they could tell and they were present when I at times talked about relivings in a session. So, and they felt it. They felt how true it was. They saw me in my tortured, split up personalities who came to the surface. But this white rabbit, for example, he was very trained and was preparing me as well for the military black ops, next to a certain man who has also thrown a lot of what happened 4 years ago by now, with the name COVID, that thing, and he was evil as well. I had him seeing experiments do with people, and especially in Africa. I was in Sierra Leone, and I saw the most beautiful people being experimented on without their knowing. And at times these were tiny little villages, and I walked through villages like that already when I was very little, and it sounds maybe ridiculous, but I remember one time when I was walking in diapers, and I was walking in between, behind this man, which was, he was far younger at the time, and his surname is named after a sickle, so then you have a bit an idea. So please don't mention any names in the chat. I know that most of you know that, but just to say that. And what is? Oh yeah, to come back to White Rabbit. That to prepare me for NAI and to for the programming specifically with the military ops, that I was put in cellar and was left. Without food, without water, and I was scraping a lot with my nails the calcium of the walls, because I thought that had some nourishment in it. When there was, for example, rain, I still remember that when I was in Russia, and that I was put in also there in barracks, which were a military camp, and then there was moisture with the barred small window, and then I also scraped a bit and the moisture with my fingers, and then licked in the hope of that I would have some moisture and could survive. This white rabbit was a lot of traumatizing me with rats and mice. And I talked about it that he put me in his private quarters underneath an underground base where he had also kind of a villa. And I recall that everything was circular because that was in that time at least much more handy to dig with the dig machines they had, the circular shape. And they were so thick, these walls, and he did not allow anything of devices or radiation and so on. And he had his own private souvenir room of which he had souvenirs of specific his idol, the man with a little black moustache, and he had a lot of which was made of human skin, which was dried and prepared. And I saw cups, I saw even whole what you see on a dinner table. I never shared that before, but that it was all of human skin. The man with the little black moustache had my codes of me as MKultra, a little notebook which had the skin also of human skin. So the cover of that notebook also had the human skin. So this white rabbit was obsessed with that, and with mice and rats, and that I often was put there in that in his private quarters, and then totally isolated. And then that he did a lot of tortures with mice in front of my eyes. I will not go that far that I will graphically show what he did in front of my eyes. And then again, I was still walking in diapers. Then you have an idea of how young I was. And these people, again, when they are becoming older, they have their spot in the elite layers of the world, world leaders, working for presidents. White Rabbit worked a lot of years for several presidents, and that was very handy because he could then give me further away to the next president. So, and I talked about it a lot, but I repeat it often so that maybe it will not become so ridiculous as initially the first time I talked about it. But in mid-70s, I was introduced to the first president, and then I met every president until 2010. And also the presidents who would becoming president. And yes, every president between mid-70s to 2010. So then you have an idea how many presidents and presidents-to-be I met. And they were all aware of MKultra. That's the only thing what I can say. They were all in it when I met them. That's all I can say. And that's the truth. So, yeah, he was obsessed, as I said, with rats and mice, and also the rabbit, and he wore a lot of times a rabbit hat, so a white rabbit hat. He tortured me as well with animals. Animal torture was done to all my programmers in a way, but he and Queen E were the most horrific ones who tortured me with animals. And as well, my Dutch granddad in the front life, he tortured me with animals as well. All sorts of animals, small, big. Again, trigger warning, I was put in carcasses of cows and horses. And I was forced to sit in there and not for just a moment, for a while. So, thank you for following, Joep. It is a funny name, but so you make me smile. So that is maybe that is for now enough with the horrifying tortures. But one specific thing, and then I will go into a bit of AI because I see it's now 9:45. I will take a sip of my tea. Take a breather, take a sip, because I'm very aware of how extreme detailed I am now tonight. So let me know if it's too graphic or if it's too horrific. But yeah, I know you have your own choice to not watch. So I know that too. But I feel always responsible a bit for you all. So I hope you will have no nightmares, because I would not want to be responsible for that. So, and I will also do in the last half an hour, I think, I will for sure the last quarter, not to make a bridge to more lighthearted, and the AI is less dealt with torture and so on, and the horrific animal tortures. So to come back to this white rabbit, I don't know what it is, but I have to be careful again to not mention his name. White rabbit, he tortured me and programmed me with that I had to sit in dentist chair-like chairs or beds, and that I was forced like all kinds of headbands and electroshock devices and so on. So he was the main programmer to get me hooked to frequencies, to create, for example, also my delta system. My delta system was a very, very heavy system because it was connected to my black ops, and had to deal with that. I was taught to use weapons and so on, and that, I did black ops, which I'm not proud of at all. It is, it was the programming. So that's the only thing. I cannot. It's my consciousness always what was there from deep within, but I was just forced to do this, and I was often in trance state and not in a drug-induced state. I need to repeat that a lot. There is an image of that a lot of MKultra is done with drugs or drug involved or LSD. Well, the programming, yes, but the actual as personalities, I myself had to be clear in the head and to take decisions also for my own Delta team and for others, and I had to be clear, and the programmers wanted me to be clear-headed, because then I would feel the trauma even deeper, and I would not fall in a kind of relaxed mode. So, and I did get some herbs in the light and bright room with some tea and warm milk with honey, and I'm sure I got herbs to fall asleep and to hallucinate into a beautiful, deep, dream-like state. So, and I feel I know the difference in between. So, Joep, welcome. You're from the Netherlands too. Well, great that you joined. And it's a tough subject in which you bump into, and this is one of maybe the most graphic live streams with the most graphic details. So, and I'm very grateful, by the way, that you were all watching here. So one of these devices, which White Rabbit did as well next to the headbands and the electroshocks, is that the eyes wide open. That is an expression, eyes wide open. My eyes were forced open with certain, hello, screams, slishes. Who is the White Rabbit? Well, I cannot pronounce his name. But he was involved with presidents and in the military. And from the US. That's the only thing what I can say. And please don't mention any names, literal names. And if you want to know more, you can find more on my channels via the bio.link, which is below. Or above, you see the links, and there you can see my first live streams, and they're all in a numbered from 1 to... I'm now over the 100 by now on Twitch, and on YouTube there's a playlist. And I have also Dutch live streams and English spoken live stream. So look up if you want to know more about this white rabbit. And the white rabbit, by the way, that nickname he named himself. But white rabbit is an often used symbolism as well in movies, and often related to drugs or drug-enhanced state. But he was overall calling himself like that to confuse me and to make sure that I would never talk about it, because everyone would make or see me ridiculous with talking about that. I would recall that he traumatized me with wearing a rabbit hood over his head. So, and that's a trick which is done by programming as well. To come to the electroshocks, I like to describe how electroshocks felt. Electroshocks this is why I myself feel like no one should ever undergo this. Not even when people have mental issues. Never, ever should anyone have even one time a bit electroshocks. That's my opinion, because I know how it felt. The electroshocks, what I first felt is that the oh man, that's again when I tell these horrific things, that's these temples of the head, that is like the veins explode. That was the initial thing, what first happens with electroshocks. So it's not that it goes first through the body, no, it first reaches the temples of the head. And the temples are holy, sacred spots on the head. And this is why it's being chosen, electroshocks, also by the programming. And a lot of times with the electroshocks, then I had devices put in my mouth, and I was hooked to machines to check my heart pulse and so on, and my heart and my lungs. Also, my eyes were a lot of times spread wide open with these, from tiny metal. They would that my eyes would stay open like mini. How you say that? Well, I don't know the word, but maybe you look at certain movies of Kubrick, and then you see them happening. But the temples, how that felt, the temples are also close to the hearing and the senses of the nose and the glands in the brains of the glands in the head, and of course close to the brain. So what I recall from the electroshocks was that I never got used to them. This is also why they used them in my programming and other programming. Electroshock is the same as ever. It's the same as with when I was hooked to device to pull. Now I don't know the word, but that's because it's a heavy subject for me. To a defibrillator, which is then outside the body. I forgot. I always know that word, and now I can't get to it. That also will never get used to. And defibrillators as well. That's the same. It will never feel less. Was I sedated? No, I was not sedated. That was the purpose of my programming, that I would not have been sedated. And every time when it happened to electroshocks, it felt every time as anew. And this is why it was so awful to experience. And that refreshed the walls in between the amnesia walls of the personality and the system. So this is why it is such a beloved subject for programmers. Not only that, some of the programmers, I remember that when I was electroshocked, when I was older, that some people were watching from, these surgical theaters where you have above that you can see students and others who are inside the hospital, then can watch the surgery. Well, I had an audience often, and And then they were really, I could see that because with the electroshocks, they never felt different. So what I trained myself in was even getting quicker out of my body. And then I, out of the body, could witness these audience. And a lot of times these audiences were then sexually aroused. And at times I saw also a few of the audience shapeshift or change into reptilian. The majority who, by the way, changed and got triggered were the reptilians. So, in my opinion, there are a lot of them among humanity and in the elites. So, in that way, I can acknowledge what a lot of other people already tell for years, like David Icke and so on. And you maybe cannot deal with everything what he tells or others because everyone is unique. But he does say a lot which I experienced myself. A lot of MKultras, by the way, did we witness a lot. Also White Rabbit change into a reptilian species. I can say truly from my own experience, I never saw him myself change. I saw many of the presidents change, or a certain wife of a president, for example, change in a reptilian, but never White Rabbit. Thanks for translating, Yvonne. Spreaders, exactly. They come from another planet, the evils from. Well, Tineke, just see, that depends. They're all coming from a certain bloodlines, and some just cannot do otherwise than behave. You know, I talk about that a lot of times. Some of them cannot get out, are being blackmailed and so on. So a lot of them cannot get out any longer, or they are threatened with family. I know also specifically the scientific part that I'm sure that a few of them even have devices put in their bodies that it would trigger an immediate heart attack or heart failure. A lot of times the heart is, by the way, a beloved subject for programming, as I had to undergo, and for dealing with people who are going too far in wanting to spread truth, or are just done, or the programmers think like, oh, we need to get rid of that MKultra or this elite person. A lot of times the heart is being used, but a lot of people have, without even that their loved ones know, have implants in their bodies close to their heart, which trigger a substance which immediately triggers an immediate cardiac arrest. And no traces will ever be found. A lot of them became more organic. And yeah, I watched a lot of programming. I think the beginning stages, also what Dr. Green wanted, but also the man with the little black moustache and White Rabbit and Queen E, who wanted to develop even a more trustworthy army of AI-enhanced people. So I think maybe that I saw the first training and programming of these, what they call now super soldiers and AI. I myself was also hooked to AI, and specifically related to is black goo, but it is an AI organic material which was from when I was very little I had to attach with. So that was specifically designed and created and being merged with me, with my specific DNA and genes. So no one else would ever be able to connect to this AI-enhanced organic material. And it was always black. And when it was put in a seed with this black matter, then it for example, it started with that it totally surrounded my wrist and right hand. It started always like that, like I was sitting like this, and then it started to merge around my hand and arm. And at times when I had to do black ops, then a part of this black AI organism then was or enhanced in my suit, or I had to wear it like a glove when I did some black operations, especially off planet, or when I had to deal with artifacts of which the programmers could not enter. And I had the capacities together with my psychic abilities and with my Delta team to see inside an artifact or in an off-world weird. For example, they wanted to examine a mountain-like area, and they could not find any door or an entry. Then I had to, with my team, had to investigate, and then even I could walk through that matter. That was my capacity, and enhanced via the AI and my psychic abilities, and because I was split up. So what will happen if I start to remember my military part? Yeah, I'm not sure if it's safe or if it's good to remember everything. And I trust in God and the Creator and Jesus and my angels who guide me in this. Goosebumps, Putniki, yeah. Yvonne, creepy stuff, black goo, yeah. Creepy stuff, black goo, yeah. In Egypt, there is in a sarcophag. No, in a giant tomb, there are trails of black goo, and an evil creature from the underworld, which has connections to the devil. He has been escaped, and since then the world got darker. But I am sure, I don't doubt about it, that the light can never be put out. You know, the everlasting Creator's life of unconditional love that can never, ever be destroyed. Never. Hello, Rick the Daddy. Welcome. Hey, thank you so much for that last raid again. And I tried to follow you back and I couldn't find you. That was very strange. So I will now open the mod view, and now first we'll do that because you really surprised me with that raid last week. So now I can. Now it echoed. Yeah, but I appreciate everyone who rates me. I follow back. That's just you know, if that is the one thing I can do. So, but yeah, I did try. So then you know. So yeah, that was indeed a good raid. Oh man, yeah, a real present. You really surprised me, and the other one too. I forgot the username. That was a bit too complex. But anyway, I was talking about AI. So this creature was compared to how he looked like. This creature was slimy and black, like that television series, which is called Stranger Worlds, I believe, with these teenage girl and children who then start to fight the creatures from within the ceilings and the walls, etc. And these creatures do exist. So the one who created the television series knows exactly how this evil world with the demons, and you can touch them. You can at times touch demons. They can become matter. But then you have to open portals and have also the devil nearby, or Lucifer. Lucifer, by the way, has also a human form, and I know his human form, but I'm afraid I will never be able to say that out loud publicly. I have to keep that for myself, but maybe the world will be a free world in which I can say out loud who he is, his identity. And, yeah, thanks, Freak the Daddy. Yeah, him I did find, so maybe I can now... wait. And I also feel, by the way, it's 3 minutes past 10, so how much I talked about, and this training of the super soldiers, I will do a part 2 next week. And the coming Saturday as well talk about more about AI and the programming of the AI of the super soldiers. That's maybe what I want to close off a bit this subject. And I love to talk about it with you, because at 10:30 I have to stop. I have to quit the live because someone who works had 12-hour workday comes home. So so that I watched a lot of these super soldiers being small. The majority, by the way, were male, but there were also girls. There are also girls being trained for super soldier. It's the same as with the Montauk. I was in Montauk, how you say that facility. I was there as well, and I was a girl, and I read a book about Montauk project, that there were only boys capable of traveling through gates, through time gates, and so on, and time machine gates. But yeah, there are some girls who can. So, but boys are stronger in the genes to be capable of. And then still, I saw a lot of boys just vaporize or just die, and especially there again I go with the heart, or their brains didn't cope. Or sometimes they came back and they were totally psychotic. That's also part of the training, which, by the way, with MKultra training, like if programmers, for example, choose someone to become MKultra monarch, that is not always guaranteed that they survive the programming. The programmers can initially have the idea that they would be capable of with the ingredients and the specific date of birth, etc. But a lot of them don't survive. A lot of them die, or a lot of them get kind of psychosis, and are then being used as sex slave, or maybe their programming can only deal with being used or trafficked, and so on. So sadly enough, that happens a lot too. And I say happens a lot too because, again, I see too many people in the world still leading the world who I knew. Yeah. And that's frustrating. I wish I could explain how frustrating it is. And I don't wish them any harm, evil. I don't wish them any... No, I don't wish them any harm or evil or call up for something, but it's very frustrating to see them still as being leaders or monarchies. That's the only thing, to say no to that, and that I have the right to say no to evil. So let's make a whole movement of saying no. Just to evil, nothing more, no names, no people, just saying no to evil. But yeah, so that's what I wanted to specifically talk about. And with this super soldier, yeah, I watched a lot of interesting things, which, by the way, Star Wars had a lot of truth in their movies. Also a lot not, but a lot had truth about it. And because there was something from evil, like Darth Vader, coming from a black sun, like blackness ball. There's a lot of truth in it, and it is connected also with super soldier programming, the way I saw it develop. And I will continue that next time, because I start to feel very fulfilled. I'm so full in my head, so I think it's time for me to go, well, gradually to a closure, and also be more in a light-hearted state. Oh gosh. Scream slishes, don't leave, please. Well, I reached my borders, if you mean by that. But I will be back next Tuesday for English. And Scream slishes, are you coming from Netherlands or are you from abroad? Because I am planning on going live also past midnight. So my past midnight live streams, I will continue, but not twice a week. Maybe next week, maybe even on a Wednesday night or morning, I should say. Jos, the angels have also become stronger and are supported by the light workers. Oh, definitely. There is an increase. Sunday, who did feel since Sunday again an uplifting in the energy? I felt since Sunday again a lot of people, well, everyone actually can reach for it and invite that specific light to enhance their spiritual being and strength. So, but I wonder if more people have felt it from Sunday again, and all indeed to make the change possible, as to counterbalance that evil. Hello, Mortenix. I hope I pronounce it well. You did too? Ah, you did too feel it. I'm sure many people all over the world. And it was even visible outside Earth. I saw it outside Earth like domes of domes of light, and then like little light explosion, a bit the peel around the Earth hitting, and then explosions of light, and then the positive light. So that's so it has changed also outside the Earth, and that's the good news. So stay hopeful, and I know that today something happened also in a certain country involved with Ukra and Russia, but I feel truly hopeful for the world. But let us all keep on saying no to evil, individually. All individually. Just saying no, or standing in your house, by only pronouncing it every day when you start the day, and you spread your arms and you look around and you just say no to evil out loud in the house. What that will do, that's only a small exercise what you can do. Just say no to evil. It's very powerful. It's very simple but powerful. Yvonne, we are on the positive timeline. Yeah, the positive timeline has hit the negative timeline, and there's no return in evil. I believe we live truly in an incredible, also exciting period. But yeah, and I don't say that evil is then just gone, because look at me, I'm talking about what I experienced, and more people start to talk out loud about it. But do people really feel that this is true? Like the horrific traumas I had to undergo for programming, and I'm not the only one. I can talk about it, and I'm very grateful for it. And I want to, I really, from already when I was very little, want to voice what happened to me. So I was driven by a holy mission, almost driven so deep with the quest and mission. Oh man, I had a goal. If I even remember when I started to deprogram, there's sometimes people ask me, even friends when I still had at the time, like, Monique, do you have a goal in life? Yeah. I always knew my goal, and sometimes that was pretty confronting, because I was dealing with all the flashbacks and the relivings and not knowing that it was still deprogramming in 2023. So, it's a harsh... So I realize how many evil things happen, and also hard things also in the world, with earthquakes and flooding. I'm so with everyone who deals with it, like also Turkey not so long ago, all the shootings, the horrific, and as well my heart cries when I see these die-offs of whales and dolphins and stranded fishes, and oh man, But yeah, I need to stay positive as well. I need it, because otherwise, yeah, I just need to. So, oh man, I did tell so much, and I made it by talking about it. And again, I did not even touch upon I did now manage to talk more percentages than ever of the 100% what I could say about the horrific things, but I did increase in percentages. So there is some, yeah, I dare to talk about it a bit more. Yeah, thank you so much, Scream Slishes. I hope I pronounce it all well. You can't wait to hear more. Yes, well, you're invited for the next live stream, and that is coming Saturday. It's a Dutch live stream, and you can find me, of course, everywhere at the, I think it's here. So, and as well on my bio.link, I added now also timer countdown. So also for the people, also when I do the Dutch live streams, because I know people from Curaçao, from Nederlandse Antillen, from Belgium also are watching my live stream. So then you can watch the timer countdown and then, yeah, be there. And well, I stream on almost all platforms you can find on my bio.link, and it is a lot. I know, but you know that's also part of what I feel. I for years now stream simultaneously on several platforms at the same time. Yeah, and it's then being spread. Huh? Like it's better to spread it than to have all focused in one centered spot, because if that one centered spot of which everything is put in is gone, then everything is gone. And when it's being spread out, then if one of the many is dropping out, then they have still the others left. Ta-da! I always wanted to do ka-ching! There I go again. I love that. I saw that once in a certain Japanese. So I borrowed it from someone else. It's not mine, the original ka-ching. But I do it maybe in an original way. But I love, I always have to smile when oh gosh. And yeah, so thank you so much for being here, you all. And yeah. I really love to hear. You can also email me privately on Proton Mail. That's encrypted. So no Gmail, but via Proton Mail to also express or want to share something or want to ask me something in private. I will always keep that in private. And you're welcome to do that as well. But I'm very curious. And if you have bad reactions on me talking about these graphic details, then you're invited to share that as well. Or if you have some negative reactions, just if you want to express, then you can always write me or message me as well. So I believe the 5G masts are following me via my phone. What phone provider do you use? Oh, well, the only thing what I can say is start with VPN, and that's not even guaranteeing everything. Yeah, it is. I know that people are being targeted, so for me, yeah, it's a reality that's being done. I myself as well, and not only me, but also the other inhabitants here in the house are already years ago also being attacked with frequencies, and I myself got attacked with messages being steered towards me, and that's the way they do it, they want to do it invisible because then no one would believe me or you or who has otherwise. There are a lot of people who are targeted individuals who also have the proof, by the way. But yeah, it will get better the more people become aware of everything what is going on. Oh man. I apologize for me yawning. Well, scream slashes. This is a vulnerable subject. This word, this with the C, because I stream via Twitch and Facebook, and they're very toss against mentioning too much about that. So sadly enough, I cannot answer that. But I was involved in the black military, in the black army, working for someone with surname. He has a sickle, and I saw him develop certain techniques and experiments done to specifically African people. A lot of the people from Africa and Afro-Americans are being, that's the wrong word as well, Afro-Americans, where they origin of, but they are being ridiculized and being used as guinea pigs. And that's so sad. I saw that from a close as well. So that's the only thing what I can say, scream slishes. So I cannot say everything with a toss. So the TOS. And in the time that broke loose, I tried to warn everyone that there was also a danger to it, and that I started to remember. That's triggered, by the way, a lot of my military programming, and that I remember seeing the plans that in the main goal was, maybe still is, to create a world martial law. So everywhere police, army on the streets, and that the black army from the underground deep cities and the army which is hidden underground, that they would surface more and more. That was, for me, what I saw in 2022 planned from July, August. The stepping stone towards that, but could it still happen? I don't know. But I stopped warning, and that was what I learned from when that whole COVID stuff triggered me in my military programming, and my fears, of course, of that the world would had. So it was well meant of me to warn the world and the people. Yeah, I learned warning does not bring anything. And that's why I just express what I know, what I experienced, and then can everyone do what he or she wants with it or not, or just leave it, put it aside. But everyone, yeah, Saturday the Dutch live stream, and look forward to it. I will do that in Dutch, this subject, by the way, and often more details are added or another subject. So, because I myself need it, that it always is variable and spontaneous as well in my deprogramming. And I give you update as well about my deprogramming and how it will go with the two young little personalities who came forward with my military part now and are now dealing with having carried the eating disorders, which was also programming, and I hope to touch upon that as well coming Saturday and next Tuesday in the live stream. From always from 7:30. So, Interesting, Mortenix. Keep all my technology in a metal box under my yard. Interesting. So I will look at maybe someone I can read. but I am very tired. But I will do it now properly. Crazy Ton, Simona, Julieta. Yeah, there are several live. I forgot what they all are, besides some. So, everyone, yeah, I can express again how grateful I am that, and also for the new followers, so heartwarming welcome. I'm heading towards 250 subscribers, or followers, I must say, on Twitch, 5 to go. So, yeah, I'm beyond grateful, and also on my other channels. So, thank you so much for watching. Yeah, Jos, hey, thanks for being here, and see you next time. And does someone know a new channel? Someone new to rate? Redempto is also live. He is in Amsterdam. And we are in Amsterdam. Liz Gay. But I forgot what is Redempto. Yeah, thank you so much, Tinik Jessie. Scream Slishes. Appie shares the same beliefs. And Appie is... Who is Appie? You know a nice channel to rate? Scream Slishes? Appie Taxi. Is he live now? Or she? Appie Taxi. I will look it up. Oh, the same beliefs. All right. So Appie Taxi is sitting in a taxi. Okay, I will look, because I like also to find new channels as well. Yeah? Okay, then I will trust on you and will rate this Appie Taxi. And he is open for MKultra, because that would be great. Hello, Asia Ploy. Thank you so much for following. Okay. Now, let's try. And dear people, love to see you next time. And I hope I did not express too many graphic details, but I think it went pretty well. So I'm very... and you all stayed? Even more people came, so apparently it was doable. Oh man. It's my tiredness again. Oh man. It went very well, Yvonne? Yeah, exactly. So, Asia Ploy, maybe see you next time then. We're about to close the live stream, but I hope to see you next time. Next Tuesday, English, and coming Saturday in Dutch. Okay, the raid has been created. Everyone, wish you all a great night, but also don't go, and I also want to say ka-ching. And see you next time, and I'm so really, really relieved that I could do my story. So thank you so much, and join me with the raid as well, and see you next time. Bye bye. Ciao.